According to General Hospital teasers, Michael Corinthos may persuade Willow Tate into recording a stalker confession for Daisy Gilmore and using it in court. Could such potential recording throw a huge curveball into the next hearing? Michael had some time to piece together the information, but he now feels Willow is the most likely candidate for pursuing Daisy and spooking Sasha Gilmore Corbin. Of course, JH viewers know Michael's theory is correct because we've all seen Willow resort to such sinister tactics. Willow is to blame for Sasha's escape from town with Daisy, and she deserves to bear the consequences. Willow, however, dodged the Quartermain property's surveillance cameras, so there is no evidence of her troubling deeds. If Michael intends to do anything with this information, he'll need some proof. Sasha and Daisy are no longer in Port Charles, thus Michael cannot construct a trap to capture Willow in the act. The only way to verify Willow's actions may be to extract a confession from her. Willow would do almost anything to see Wiley and Amelia Corinthos, and Michael could take advantage of her desperation. It's easy to see Michael summoning Willow for a calm, rational chat and behaving as if he'd consider allowing her to visit the children. Michael might emphasize the value of trust and accountability before gently telling Willow about his stalker worries. As part of the trick, Michael could push Willow to confess what she did, so that they can put the past behind them and recover. Willow may reveal her baby stalker guilt through deception, and if Michael surreptitiously films it, he may obtain the ability to deliver the ultimate courtroom curveball. Even if the Jen Sidwell bribery case is a disaster for Michael, he may have an ace in the hole if he obtains a Daisy stalking confession. According to General Hospital spoilers, Michael and Willow will have more disagreement in the future, so we'll keep you updated on any other court-related news. General Hospital spoilers indicate that, while Willow Tate has hit rock bottom, she still has some friends in the little community. Willow has cut her mother, Nina Reeves, out of her life and broken up with Drew Kane after they lied about their affair, but she can count on Elizabeth Weber and Harrison Chase. Harrison Chase filled Willow Tate in General Hospital spoilers for the Tuesday, August 5th episode show Chase paying Willow a visit while she was working at the hospital. It's evident he wanted to check in on his pal and see how she was doing in light of recent events. He's clearly still #Team Willow, despite all of her recent antics, and Chase was even kind enough to keep the mother updated on how her children were doing. He told Willow extensive details about Wiley and Amelia Corinthos, and while she was pleased to hear them, she was also saddened that her children were changing without her. Chase can be manipulated. Fans can see flashes of the old Willow, but she is easily triggered when it comes to meltdown mode. Willow also appeared to be manipulating Chase with her goody two-shoes act on Tuesday, given that she was responsible for pushing Sasha Gilmore out of town and stalking Daisy Gilmore. As such, might she persuade Chase to accompany her to see her children? Could she find out in a circumstance where the cop is watching them and then step in? Willow has been known to attend to specific activities, such as Wiley's swimming lessons at the Metro Court pool, so may something similar occur in which Chase allows Willow to spend time with Wiley and Amelia without Michael Corinthos' knowledge? Willow perched on the edge of the park bench, her arms clasped tightly against the evening chill. Michael was quieter tonight, his normal confidence hidden under a more calculated quietness. He kept looking at her, as if he was viewing a conundrum that only he could unravel. She had noticed it more and more recently, when the legal processes began. Ever since the truth about Daisy began to permeate every aspect of their life, Michael had been distant, caring definitely but methodical. He asked questions, steered talks in specific areas, and was always observing and listening. At first she assumed he was only attempting to protect her, but now, as the moonlight played with the shadows on his face, she wondered if there was more beyond the surface. "I just want you to feel safe," he added, snuggling closer to the bench. "What you've been through with Daisy isn't fair. I understand it's difficult to talk about, but we need clarification. Closure." Willow paused. Her fingers brushed over the edge of her sweatshirt. Daisy had once been a friend. Sweet, lost, and emotionally unstable. What began as a casual friendship evolved into an obsessive maelstrom of manipulation and hidden threats. Willow attempted to separate herself, but Daisy never took rejection well. She'd turn up unexpectedly, leave cryptic notes, and emotionally blackmail Willow with secrets from her past. It had gotten uncontrollable. Dangerous. Michael pushed a button on his phone, and a gentle chime indicated that the voice memo app started recording. He placed the phone between them, not even attempting to conceal it. "Michael, what are you doing?" Willow inquired sharply, her heart racing in her chest. "I just want to get this out in the open. You talk and we'll figure out the details later. You don't have to be terrified anymore." His tone seemed prepared, almost. Willow narrowed her gaze and said nothing. Perhaps part of her needed to say it aloud. "She followed me for weeks," she admitted gently, almost to herself. "At first I felt I was imagining things. But then she started turning up everywhere, outside the daycare, at the hospital, and even outside her house. I would receive these texts in the middle of the night. She occasionally sent me images of myself. I have no idea when she took them," Michael said calmly. He simply nodded, his face expressionless. "She said I owed her," Willow said, "and that I vowed to always be there for her. But I never said it, Michael. She twisted things. I tried to help her with her problems, but she wanted more control. When I pushed back, she would lash out, threaten to harm herself. Or me." Michael leaned over and placed his hand on hers. She did not draw away. "Has she ever admitted to stalking you?" he asked, his voice low. Willow looked away, a tear running down her cheek. "Once, during one of our final confrontations," she said. "I know everything about you, Willow. I watch you because I care. You'd be nothing without me." I begged her for help. I told her that this was unhealthy, but she laughed, said I'd regret abandoning her. Michael's phone continued to record silently on the bench. Inside, Michael was already wondering what this revelation may signify. The custody case has hung by a thread. The judge was leaning against them as Willow's trust was strained, and her emotional stability was called into question as a result of Daisy's intervention. But a confession like this, raw, passionate, and undeniable, could change the tide. "I didn't want to tell anyone," Willow muttered. "I assumed I could handle it alone. But now I think she might do something terrible." Michael lightly squeezed her hand. "You did the right thing by telling me." Later that night, he copied the audio recording to a flash drive. He did not sleep. He paced the length of the living room, repeating each second of the recording in his mind. Part of him felt awful about doing it this way. He had maneuvered the situation, creating a safe area for ulterior intentions. But another side of him, colder and more calculating, justified it. He was doing it for their children and their future. Daisy had been poisoning their lives for too long. The next day in court, Michael sat stone-faced next to his lawyer. Willow, a few rows back, was perplexed and unprepared for what was about to happen. The judge ordered more evidence to be presented, and Michael's lawyer stood, clutching the flash drive as if it offered salvation. "We have a first-hand account of the stalker known as Daisy. This clearly affects our case, as it reveals a clear and present risk to the children's welfare while in Willow's care, as a result of persistent harassment and trauma caused by this third party." The court arched an eyebrow. "Is this the defendant's confession?" "No, Your Honor. It's from the victim, Willow Tate." Willow's breath seized in her throat. She gazed about, finally focusing on Michael. He refused to meet her gaze. He was staring straight ahead, hands clenched in his lap. The courtroom became quiet as the recording played. Willow's voice resonated over the speakers, soft, quivering, and full of agony. Her remarks evoked vivid images of Daisy's anxiety, paranoia, and emotional terrorism. There was no denying the authenticity. The judge leaned forward and listened closely. A few jurors shifted uncomfortably. The prosecutor took notes in a flurry. When the recording was over, silence hovered in the air like a storm cloud. "Miss Tate," the judge finally asked, "are the statements in this recording correct?" Willow trembled. Her voice was hardly heard. "Yes." The judge nodded solemnly. "Then it's evident that there is a substantial threat that has to be considered in this custody evaluation. Measures will be taken to maintain safety until further notice." Willow felt as if the floor had been pulled out from beneath her. She had been exposed, her pain revealed not in a private conversation with her spouse, but in a courtroom, weaponized. Michael had utilized her confession and weakness as a deliberate move. She could scarcely hear the rest of the session. She could not think. She could only see Michael's back as he went out of the courtroom, surrounded by reporters and attorneys. That night, she sat alone in her apartment, while the children stayed with Monica for the weekend. Michael's messages buzzed through her phone. She did not read them. She could not. The betrayal was too fresh, too sharp. Meanwhile, Michael experienced a bitter win. The court could now see the issue plainly. Daisy was hunting Willow and the kids, emotionally destabilizing them. The recording was necessary. But he had not informed her. I hadn't warned her. Had not granted her the dignity of choosing. Willow appeared frosty when they met a few days later for custody mediation. Not furious, just distant, like if a wall had been built between them that would never come down. You should have told me, she replied simply. I didn't want to risk you saying no, Michael explained. That's not a reason, she replied. That's control. He flinched, recognizing that in his attempt to protect her, he had employed the same tactics Daisy had, manipulating the facts and bending moments to his will. I'm sorry, he replied. I just wanted to keep the children safe. Keep you safe. You don't get to decide what safety means for me, Willow said. You don't get to record my trauma and use it as a trump card. I trusted you. I still want to repair this, he replied. Willow shakes her head. This cannot be fixed. You made a decision, Michael. You chose to win. Days became weeks. Daisy ultimately received a restraining order, and her name was formally included in custody evaluations. Willow's case began to tilt in her favor as her terror was documented and proven to be real. But the rift between her and Michael couldn't be repaired so simply. They maintained a courteous relationship, always putting the children first, but the closeness was gone. Michael continued hoping that the barriers would come down, and that time would heal the breach. But each discussion became more stiff, each gaze more guarded. One evening, Willow handed him a letter. I need space, it stated. Not only physically but emotionally. You did what you felt was correct. I do not despise you for it. But I can't love someone with whom I don't feel safe. Michael folded the letter without arguing. He'd already used too many words in situations where faith should have spoken for him. Willow gradually regained her tranquility in the weeks that followed. Therapy helped. Long walks with her children, quiet mornings sipping coffee by the window. These became her therapeutic rituals. Daisy had lost her power. But so did Michael. He observed from a distance now, unsure whether the damage could ever be reversed. He had decided to win the lawsuit. But in the process, he had lost something far more valuable, Willow's confidence and possibly her love. Even still, he couldn't resist replaying her voice from the recording. Pain, anxiety, and vulnerability. It reminded him of who she genuinely was, and how vulnerable people become when others manipulate their truth. He did not regret defending his children, but he regretted not protecting her heart. Willow understood just how to play it. She'd spent so long trying to put on the exact expression, tone, and careful tear that always appeared genuine, but was not. She hadn't always behaved like this. She used to respect honesty, to feel that love was enough, and that if you told the truth and held on to the people you loved, everything would work out. But that Willow had been broken into bits a long time ago, and she now operated out of necessity. And just now she needed to see her children, and Chase was the only way in. Michael had shut her out. That was not intended to happen. Not after all they'd gone through. But loss, wrath, and betrayal had a way of reshaping relationships. Willow had made decisions and Michael had drawn a hard line. He said he was protecting the children, but Willow knew otherwise. He was protecting himself. He did not want the youngsters to become confused. I didn't want to give Willow the opportunity to twist things. That is what he told himself. But Willow had noticed the terror in his eyes when she last addressed him. He was frightened that she would still have influence over Wiley and Amelia, and he wasn't ready to admit it to anyone. Willow switched her attention to Chase, the only person she knew who saw her in shades of gray rather than stark black and white. Detective Harrison Chase. Her former fiancé. The man who once attempted to love her back to life. He hadn't succeeded, but he had left a mark. One so deep that Willow knew how to find him. Not via threats or pity, but through the remembrance of who they once were together. Chase was a decent guy. Maybe too wonderful. But he still had feelings for her, and she planned to take advantage of that. She waited until the appropriate opportunity. She didn't want to appear desperate, but she couldn't wait too long either. Timing was everything. When she learned Chase had completed an emotionally demanding case involving a missing teen, she knew he'd be candid, vulnerable, and perhaps even nostalgic. She sent him a simple question. "Coffee? I just need a friend." He replied within 5 minutes. That alone told her everything she needed to know. She still had access. They met at a modest cafe off the main streets of Port Charles. Familiar, quiet, easy to communicate in. Chase welcomed her with a wary smile, the type you give when you're not sure if something is going to hurt or heal. "You look tired," he said, his voice filled with concern. Willow smiled slightly. "I am." Chase nodded. "I haven't slept much lately. I heard about the custody." "I'm sorry," was her initial line. She let her eyes fill. Not too much, just a subtle shimmer. "I miss them so much, Chase. It feels like I'm missing parts of my body." He winced and turned away for a time, and she knew she'd nailed it. He wasn't simply reacting to her anguish. He was recalling the times when they discussed starting their own family. "I made mistakes," she murmured softly, leaning across the table just enough so that her fingertips touched his. "But they are still my children. I carried them. I breastfed them. I sang for them at night. So now, they're like ghosts," Chase said, his jaw tightening. "Michael is doing what he believes is best." "I understand," Willow replied swiftly. "And I am not trying to take them away from him. I'm not even attempting to fight for custody right now. I simply want to see them. That is all. I want to be a presence in their lives, not a stranger." He did not respond, but she noticed a spark of sympathy. She pressed on softly, trying not to push too hard. "Did Wiley inquire about me?" she inquired. "I know he did." Chase groaned. "I know he's confused. He misses you. He doesn't understand why things changed so quickly." "I don't want to confuse him further," Willow remarked. "I just like to sit with him, talk to him, allow him to see that I am still present." Chase appeared to be in pain. "Michael isn't going to allow that." "But you can," Willow murmured, barely above a whisper. He blinked. "What do you mean?" "You're still a part of their lives," Willow replied. "Wiley loves you. Michael trusts you. If you bring me into the picture, even for a visit, it will mean something. Maybe he won't slam the door in my face." "It's a hefty ask. I understand. And I wouldn't have asked if I wasn't desperate." He paused, his fingers tightening around his coffee cup. Willow leaned in. "I am not asking you to betray him. I'm asking you to remember the girl you once loved and help her avoid losing all of her children." It was emotional blackmail, but tempered by sincerity. She was experiencing agony. She was desperate. She cared deeply for her children. But she also realized that manipulating Chase was the only way forward. He had always wanted to be the hero. She was providing him the opportunity to be one again. They parted ways without making any promises, but Willow could tell Chase was thinking about it. He would wrestle with it. He would justify it with sympathy. He would eventually give in. She just needed to be patient. 3 days later he phoned her. "Wiley has a soccer game Saturday morning. Michael is bringing him. I will be there. I can make sure you're nearby." Her heart raced, but she kept her tone calm. "Thank you, Chase. That means more than I can express." The field was crowded, but Willow remained in the background at first. She watched Wiley run with the ball, his laughter carried by the wind. Her eyes welled up again, this time out of genuine need rather than act. Chase gave her a gentle sign, and she stepped forward slowly and carefully. Wiley spotted her. His eyes brightened up. "Mommy!" He dashed at her, arms outstretched. For one magnificent moment, everything else faded away. Willow sank to her knees and hugged him tightly, inhaling his aroma, stroking back his hair, and whispering how much she missed him. Michael saw it. His expression stiffened. "What the hell is this, Chase?" he exclaimed. Chase moved forward swiftly. "It was only a visit. This is a short one. What did you think?" I asked. Michael cut in. "You don't get to make that call." Wiley clung to Willow, puzzled and upset. "Why doesn't she stay?" Michael's face faltered briefly. He gently grasped Wiley and turned away from Willow. Chase tried to explain and make peace, but Michael would not listen. Willow remained there, watching as her kid was carried away again. But she had no regrets about it. The excitement and love in Wiley's eyes made it all worthwhile. And it demonstrated that Michael couldn't keep them apart forever. Not if their relationship was still as strong. Chase remained quiet afterward. He apologized. Said he expected things to go differently. He expressed surprise that Michael would react in such a way. Willow comforted him. She told him she understood that it was not his fault, and that she was thankful for the opportunity, even if it had turned out horribly. She made certain Chase left feeling like he'd accomplished something worthwhile, even if it didn't go exactly as planned. That was the next step in her plan. Keep Chase nearby. Make sure he feels useful. He'd try again, but under better circumstances. He'd feel bad about his initial try and desire to improve it. That is who he was. Meanwhile, Willow began sowing other seeds, quiet chats with Wiley's instructors, an unintentional encounter with Amelia's babysitter, and a carefully manicured social media presence that depicted her in recovery, grounded and stable. Each piece of the puzzle was important. Michael could only isolate himself for so long. The courts were not her only battlefield. The public spotlight, as well as the support of those close to the children, were both tools. And Chase was the first one she activated. She didn't detest Michael. Not really. Part of her still loved him, or at least the concept of who they had been. However, by attempting to eliminate her, he had become her foe. That was not going to stand. Willow had been passive for too long. For too long, I believed that things would settle themselves. But it wasn't a soap opera. This was her life. And if she wanted her children back, a future in which they knew, loved, and needed her, she would have to fight for it. Alternatively, she could manipulate her way into it. Whatever it takes. She assured herself she wasn't being unkind. She justified her actions as survival. Mothers did desperate things. She was not the first. She would not be the last. And he would keep assisting her, even if he didn't quite grasp why. Even if he believed he was behaving out of charity. Because it's difficult to close the door after someone has allowed you in. Willow knew it better than anyone else. And thus the game continued, quietly and relentlessly. Willow maneuvers, Michael resists, and Chase gets caught in the crossfire. But the story was not over.